Good morning, everyone. Glad to be with you all here today for our bi-weekly news update. I'm Lee Falk. I'm a livestock extension agent in the Northwest region. Joining us today, we have Mr. Vince Desautel, A&R agent in the Central region. And Dr. Edwards, unfortunately, is not going to be with us here today. She's traveling and is unable to join us. So stuck with just Vince and myself for good or for bad for today. With that, I'll turn it over to Vince and let him give us a report for Central and Southern Louisiana.
Thank you, Lee, and it's always a pleasure. We playing the same song and dance, if you would. It's a broken record. I mean, we're hot and dry. We've had some areas that did get some rain, but we got some pockets that are just parched dry for South Louisiana, and being where I sit, about 70 miles or so off the coast, and we're just not getting those sea breeze rains like we normally do in late summer, and September is our typical dry month of the year, and into October. We're still waiting on that first cold front, which is anticipated to be here sometime Thursday, Friday. But the rain chances have died off. They were originally saying 50-60% chance of rain. It does not look like it's going to materialize into any rain event. And it would take inches and days of inches of rain to catch up. It's powderhouse dry when I'm telling you. We got a northeast wind today blowing about 20 miles an hour, drying things out. It's 94 degrees here at noon today. There's no forgiveness in sight as far as rain and what we might be faced with. There are some people beginning to throw some ryegrass seed out in some dry situations, anticipating rain. I wish them the best of luck with that, but we need some foreseeable rain and a rain event to encourage me that's a good thing to do at this point in time. With that being said, I questioned yesterday on Sunday afternoon a concerned cattleman, and his question was, "What am I going to do?" I said, and he's got a nice herd of F1s and 3/4 Brahman type females, blacks and tiger stripes, and breeds some high quality Angus bulls to him, and sells a top end calf crop every year. And I said, well, you're just going to have to make some considerations on how you're going to feed them out the bag or a bulk situation, or contemplating parting with them. And honestly, Lee, you're going to probably touch up on the market some, but we really don't have any place. People don't have any place to go with these kind of cattle at this point in time. So I would anticipate we might see a softer market on pregnant or heavy gestation cows, or even cow-calf pairs. There's just nowhere to go with them unless we got buyers coming in from out of state. We've got some special sales, some stocker sales coming up here in South Louisiana. It'll be interesting to see where that market turns, or how it turns out. Because I'm telling you, I was in South Louisiana down to Abigail yesterday. I'm sorry, on the weekend. Went for the Cattle Festival Livestock Show, and it's the same story down there. They're a little bit greener than we are, which is only about 45 miles away from where I live. And but there's a lot of thin cattle out in the country with nothing to eat virtually. There's a lot of crop commodity or residues being baled. We talked soybeans in the last couple of news updates. There's some of that still going on. There's really no benefit out of baling these dried down matured soybeans. It's just too much hard material and dried material that I think folks are just running their equipment for nothing, honestly. Got a call this morning on some regrowth corn. It's 6, 8, 10 inches tall, and it's green. So the guy that was had questions on baling it, was concerned about nitrate toxicity. I would think if we drought stress, there's a strong possibility that there might be some nitrate toxicity there, depending on the amount of nitrogen that was applied for the growing season. So it's all things we need to be cautious of. There's a lot of rice straw that was baled for a forage. Got some results back from what the Ag Center's doing, a small study on economic and nutritive value on that. Jeremy Hebert, who is down in Acadia Parish and covers Acadia, Vermilion, and some of Jeff Davis in the agronomic sector. He put together the study, and he sent me some of the results. It's from one 1.8 and 9% protein to 4.9% protein. Yeah, that's pretty poor quality stuff. But I guess if it's a salvation of a sort, that's where we got to go. But these folks need to, consider or have some supplement in place with some protein content that they can utilize and justify, this rice straw that's of poor quality. So very interesting to see how our fall and winter is going to turn out. The fear is that we're going to be dry. I mean, the foreseeable forecast is there's a chance of rain, I think, around the 11th or 12th of October, a 50% chance with another front coming through. Folks, if we don't get some significant rainfall in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be into November and powder house dry. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to turn out. I pinned my own cattle yesterday to put a little fly application on them to knock some of the fly population. Flies are awful right now, and they on IGR minerals. Cattle are thin. We pull some pairs, pull some calves off, some spring calving pairs, and I went in the house, they get a bite for lunch, and I told my wife, I said, I'm not real pleased on the way my cattle look, going into the fall. It's just a tough situation. People need to be, feeding and supplementing replacement heifers, your herd bulls, and still make those hard decisions on maybe parting with some of those cattle that are older or non-productive. Like the old saying goes, you just can't fall in love with them at this stage of the game because it's critical, very, very critical right now. There's just no forages being grown, no chance of rain in sight that we're going to grow some winter forage anytime soon, and that's the story, and I'll leave you with that. We did have the Dean Lee Beef and Forage Field Day back on September the 14th, and that was well attended. And I know y'all had one up in the Northeast, and I believe it was well attended as well, but you'll cover some of those things, some of the events coming up that we got in the month of October. So say your prayers and hope for rain. It's not a good situation moving into fall and the winter months because we're already October the 2nd, and when we blink our eyes, it'll be November the 2nd, and there's no foreseeable rain in the forecast that will get us caught up on soil moisture to make any kind of progress. So good luck. Hope everybody has some good decision making at hand, and that we can move forward with better weather. That's all I got, Lee.
Well, thank you, Vince. I guess I'll jump in straight away and give my take on things from the northern side of the state, northwest region, over into northeast, northern Louisiana in general. It's sounding like a broken record, folks, but echo 100% of what Vince is stating. I'm listening to his report, and you could extrapolate that to all of northern Louisiana at the moment. I get kind of guilty of being too pessimistic, and it's hard not to be pessimistic at this moment. Pretty much just have to tell you how I see it and how things are. And if you're out there with boots on the ground right now, you'll know that what we're saying is true. Better or worse, it's the truth. I kind of thought the last time we had a news update that we had turned a corner as far as moisture and as far as rainfall. I kind of thought that this summer weather pattern had broke, that we were going to start getting regular rainfall with systems rolling through, and it just has not materialized, folks, the way that I thought it would. The last rain event we had, very sporadic, with some people not getting hardly anything, 3/10, 4/10 of an inch of rain. Some others got more than that, but they were very few in number. Talked to one producer the other day that he was blessed with about 3 inches out of that last system, but that's been over 2 weeks ago now, folks. And so we're right back where we started from, so to speak. The other story that's developing as far as weather-wise is these temperatures up here, folks. Vince stated 94, 95, something like that, Vince, down your way. We've been up near that level, especially on the western side of the state in the Shreveport area. Daily records broken as far as high temperatures. over into the central and northeastern part of the state, north central, northeastern part. Temperatures have been moderated just a little bit, but that's very little, folks. We're talking about low 90s pretty much everywhere. And same thing goes with us as down Vince's way. We've got a pretty decent rain shot, 50%, coming in on Thursday, I believe it is, Wednesday night into Thursday. Conflicting reports as far as from meteorologists about amounts. I've seen trace amounts. I've seen all the way up to an inch or 2 inches predicted, but it's all a question of if the rain will break up before it gets here. It's all associated with what they're calling the first true cold front of fall. Um, anyway, remains to be seen. I certainly echo what Vince says, that all we can do is say a few prayers and try to hope for the best there when it comes to getting some substantial rainfall. There are some people in northwest Louisiana and north central Louisiana who are planting some ryegrass, especially those that got a little bit more moisture on the last rain event. And as bad as it is for all of us that hadn't planted any ryegrass, I would say it's a notch worse for them. Those that have got some seed in the ground, because there was just enough soil moisture there to germinate seed. Now we've got some ryegrass and some wheat seedlings that are, up that tall or so, and they are hurting for a drink of water, folks. Those folks are anxiously awaiting a rain, as we all are. Pastures, you can look out your back door. I'm sure if you're in the cattle business, got cattle around your house, wherever you're at, you can take a look and kind of agree or disagree with what I said. But overall, pastures are terrible, folks. You still got some green color on some Bermuda grass. Bahia grass is pretty well um, done for, I would say, unless you got some standing Bahia, and then it'll be so tough and mature that you can't do much with it, so to speak. These daylight hours, folks, are really starting to make an impact on our forages and such. I'm sure that you've noticed how quick it's getting dark at night, and the fact that we just don't have the hours of sunshine to make any substantial headway as far as grass growth and so on and so forth. Add insult to injury, having a few reports of some armyworms, especially once again those people that got fortunate and got over an inch of rain and really had a significant green up. Um, there's um, there's been smattering of cases of armyworms, and that just hurts your feelings, folks, whenever you have an outbreak of armyworms on such a crucial um, uh, crops as this last cutting of hay or last bit of growth on these pasture grasses. People are making their last rounds of hay cutting for the year. Many folks are just, I hate to say giving up on it, but they've been holding out and holding out for the last 2 months, it seems, betting the farm, so to speak, on the last good cutting of hay. And they'll look at the hay fields and say, well, there's if I could just get a little bit more moisture, it would push me over and I would get maybe not an average yield, but it wouldn't be such a terrible yield. And a lot of those folks are just kind of giving up on it and then are jumping in and scrounging up what they can scrounge as far as that goes on the on the last cutting of these warm season grasses. Seeing a couple of cases of anaplasmosis starting to rear its head in this part of the country. If you've had problems with anaplas in your herds in the past, I highly recommend you get in touch with your local vet, whoever your consulting vet is on your farm. Develop a game plan. These cull cows and killing cows are still too high to lose them to anaplas, and bulls. Same goes for bulls as well. Had 2 reports of perilla mint and widely scattered. It wasn't just in one area, but y'all know if you're in North Louisiana or really past North Louisiana, that perilla mint can really wreak havoc on a herd once they develop a taste for it and start eating that perilla mint. If you need help IDing that or talking about some control methods and management of it, get in touch with one of us. We'll be more than happy to talk about it. I was out at a farm Friday afternoon late IDing some perilla mint. Um, Up our way, there are a couple of weeds that people routinely mistake for perilla mint. So make sure that's what it is and that's the problem that you're having. I can tell you that my stock answer for folks whenever they're talking about perilla mint, one is be careful with spraying it, because sometimes as that plant wilts down, it becomes more palatable to cattle. And the worst problems I've seen have been from producers who are trying to be proactive and to spray perilla mint out, and it just creates a bigger problem long term. The only true solution is removing the cattle from the pasture. A lot of times, though, people, if they'll start feeding some hay, that'll alleviate some of the pressure on the perilla mint. But it's a situational problem. Get in touch with one of us if you're facing it, or if you need help IDing it. Need to know what it looks like. Um, just real briefly, the National Drought Monitor is released Thursdays on Thursday mornings,
morning.
and you all know that it's not that a lot of the USDA programs are tied to the drought monitor status for your specific parish. And I just wanted to include a real quick blurb about that, because although last week we didn't see any real drought expansion in Louisiana as far as the drought monitor goes, we did see some the week before last, and I suspect that we'll see further expansion this week. So if you are in a parish that has hit D3 as far as your drought category, that's going to trigger a payment on the LFP program through the USDA. And so reach out to your local USDA office if you're in a parish that qualifies for those payments. Go on and reach out to them, and be kind and considerate with these USDA service centers, folks. They're going to be inundated with calls from cattle producers trying to sign up for these programs. So exercise a little bit of patience and kindness whenever you're dealing with these folks. A lot of these offices are maybe slightly understaffed, and you have a lot of people that are trying to cover quite a bit of workload. So just be kind. But if you want any more information on the National Drought Monitor, or about where your specific area, your specific parish stands as far as drought goes, and on anything related to this, just reach out to one of us. We'll be more than happy to help. The final thing that, well, before I get to the markets, the final thing I want to mention is what something Vince alluded to, and that's the horn fly populations. Folks, every cattle producer that I'm talking to saying the same thing. They've thrown everything but the kitchen sink at these flies. Everything from IGR minerals, IGR supplements in feed, to some non-traditional control methods, and of course all the different kind of dopes and insecticides, whatnot. And not much is working right now, folks. I tell you, I experienced that not only at the Hill Farm Research Station on the cattle herd there, but also at home. We put some fly control product on some cattle, used it at the appropriate rate. We're switching active ingredients, and we're still seeing massive numbers of flies on these cattle. So got to keep trying. Got to keep trying to control them. Pay special attention to those bulls, folks. They seem like they are bearing the brunt of it right now. Pay close attention to them. That being said, I'll jump straight into the markets. That'd be the final thing we have or that I have for today. Just as a reminder, this is the Louisiana market report. It is not an official market report. Remember, we don't have that luxury in Louisiana to have a USDA market report. These are self-reported prices that don't necessarily take into consideration quality. Some of these reports do, but most don't. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. The reason why we want to include this every time we do one of these news updates is to just give you kind of a status of the market. Okay, so don't get hung up so much on specific price levels and the thought that my cattle underperformed or overperformed what he reported, but rather just keep in mind that that this is kind of providing a direction of the markets week after week. I always try to include my confidence in the numbers as far as how much data went into it. I can tell you that this week's is going to be low confidence. Didn't get market reports from several different sale barns this week, but I'll report what we have. There did get markets from several, so I'll tell you what it all shook out as. On the 5 to 600 pound steers, the average prices were $1.28 per pound to $2.41 per pound. 5 to 6 weight heifers, $1.28 to $2.25. Cull cows, 71 cents to $1.07 per pound. Average on their cull bulls, 79 cents to $1.27 per pound. Average hive bred cows, $1,675 per head. The average on the pairs, average low was $733. Average high was $1,950. As far as we look at percent changes from our last report, the biggest decrease in prices was realized on the 5 to 6 weight steers. They fell in price over 2 weeks ago, 8.6%. 5 to 6 weight heifers fell 6.1%. Cull cows fell 6.3%. And cull bulls fell 2.8%. That was the lowest percent change. There's a couple of things that you can gather in outside observations from this market report. One being is we're seeing these fall runs. We've been seeing what we call fall runs as far as these big handles of cattle, these big censuses at these sale barns for the last 2 months, but it's still ongoing, folks. There's still a lot of cattle being marketed. And I've said before that, you have to view this cattle business and the cattle marketing industry not from a Louisiana perspective as a whole. You kind of have to view it as nationally as well. The traditional fall runs are starting nationally now, and so we're seeing these decreases in prices. Those buyers of unweaned calves are taking a lot of chances now, and the prices are reflecting them, especially on the unweaned calves. There's a lot of health risks, and there's a lot of potential for increased death loss this time of the year, because we talked about how hot it is. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is the temperature swings that we're experiencing. Not just us, but the Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas and some of these other states that buy a lot of stocker type calves. It's nothing to have 30-degree, sometimes upwards of 40-degree temperature changes, swings in a day, and that can really, coupled with dust, can really bring on some of these respiratory illnesses on these unweaned, unvaccinated calves. And so the market just prices a discount in accordingly this time of year. Not only that, but at the sheer volume of cattle being marketed nationally, not just in Louisiana. So it kind of to be expected. If you look at the 10-year price curve, 10-year annual price curve on calf prices, it's natural for us to see these decreases. Some of us were hoping not to see it this fall, but it's here nonetheless. The thing of note, and the last thing I'll cover in these markets, is on the cull cows and cull bulls. Saw a 6.3% decrease on cull cows, 2.8% on cull bulls. This is outside observations, but I've heard several cases of auction market operators almost turning cull cows, killing cows down, just because of worries about the prices and big price drops. I think that like I stated in the last report, I think that a lot of that is a function of the market being so overwhelmed by the sheer number of cows, and these cow plants getting overwhelmed by the sheer volume of cattle that they're being expected to process. But traditionally, I mean, you look at those average prices, 71 to $1.07 on the cow side, 79 to $1.27 on bull side. I know I can remember, and I know Vince can remember selling some 30-cent cull cows and killing cows and thinking that you were getting rich whenever they bumped 50, 60 cents per pound. So the market has improved quite a bit over those days. It's not as good as it was 3 weeks, a month ago on either case, but it's still good money, folks. And when you're faced with hay shortages, no grass, increased feed prices, it's still a no-brainer, folks, on those open and unproductive cows like Vince was talking about. Um, the other thing is, I know I've said this was the last thing several things ago, but I do want to make mention that these bred cow prices and pair cattle prices, if you've got some grass or if you've got some hay or some way to feed these cattle, these prices, there's still some bargains there, folks, on these bred cows and pairs, these replacement type cows. I still see some bargains and hear some reports of some bargains. Are they going to drop off a little bit into the fall? Maybe so. But I tell you, folks, if you've gotten down pretty low and you got some hay put up, now would be the time that you need to visit your local sale barn, local order buyer, try to figure out what type of cattle you can get and the appropriate price levels to get those cattle. With that being said, that's all I've got. Dr. Edwards did ask us to include a few upcoming events. We've got the cattle pregnancy determination clinics coming up tomorrow. That when you hear this, it'll be Tuesday and Thursday of this week. We've got the AI class coming up at the Dean Lee Research and Extension Center coming up October the 18th through the 20th. If you're interested and would like to register, we've had some interest here lately on it. I think they still have a few spots available, but for registration information, contact Miss Laura, and her contact information is in the video and podcast description. The Acadiana Fall Beef and Forage Field Day is coming up October the 21st from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It's at the Iberia Research Station there at Jeanerette. Contacts will be listed in the video and podcast descriptions if you're interested in that. And finally, the Livingston Beef and Forage Field Day is going to be coming up October the 21st as well, same day as the Acadiana, and it begins at 3 p.m. More information to come. For questions, you can contact Bobby Bingham. His email is going to be in the video and the podcast description. With that, Vince, you have anything else we need to discuss?
No, Lee, I'm good. Just pray for rain and better conditions. It will cool off this week. Not necessarily going to be any kind of savings to us as far as moisture and moving forward, but it'll make us feel better about a few things. But make good decisions, and like we've said time and time again over the last 2 months, it's time to part with those non-productive animals that maybe I had some registered bull calves yesterday. I took over to the sale barn and I thought about keeping them. I said, well, I sure don't need anything else to feed this fall and winter. So they got on the trailer, but that's just the kind of decisions we have to make in the cattle industry and know how far to go with things. But take advantage of the LFP program. And like Lee alluded to, there is considerable number of parishes in South Louisiana that are eligible. Go see your local FSA office and meet their requirements, and it may be of benefit to you to apply for those benefits coming from the LFP program. So that's about all I have, Lee.
Okay, thank you, Vince. I hope you have a good rest of your week, and echo what Vince said. The final thing, please say a prayer for Louisiana and for some rain. Have a good day, and let us know if we can help.